This is a nervous moment for us. After a year of creating this thing in lockdown, basically, we get to share our work with you and our hope for an expansion of what online learning can do for teaching artistry. So in this session, we hope to engage you somewhat actively, even though we have a large group, with 4 purposes. We want to introduce the course. We want to spark some ideas about how we might use this course and some of the ideas in it. We want to invite your participation into some of the aspects of the course. And we want us all to think together a little bit about how online learning can advance the work of teaching artistry. Where does this fit? And in fact, we're going to start with a series of poll questions just to get a feel for where this particular ad hoc group views online learning and teaching artistry and the potentials and the difficulties. After the polls, we're going to have a little interactive activity. Then we're going to start going into the course and some of the decisions behind the course, some of the features of the course, and then we'll get to some thinking together. So let's jump in with those polls to get a feeling. Here, Madeline, if you can bring up the first one. And this asks the question, how should our field think about teaching artist professional development? How should our field think about online teaching artist professional development? You'll see those different answers. This group is a little self-identified in interest about online learning, so we may have a skewed sample. And let's look at those results. That's pretty much where we were as we entered this endeavor, which was a whole lot harder than we ever imagined. And I should pause and thank the team at Kadenze.com. They were our partners in this from the beginning, and without their expertise and guidance, it would have been impossible. The technical support, the technical inner workings were beyond us, but they've been excellent partners from the beginning. And also a big thanks to the Community Arts Network, who supported this, who made it possible for us to create this course that took about a year for us to create. And the sense of this group is our field should put more energy into it, but maybe not go all the way into it. Beautiful. Let's go to the second poll. And this one allows for multiple answers. And it's a question about target audiences. Which are the most important target audiences for online teaching artist professional development? And you can give more than one answer. So it looks like the top answer is the one that drove us initially, teaching artists who are passionate to get better at their work. And that's followed up pretty closely by artists who want to expand the employability of their skills and wanting to learn a specific skill set. I wonder if does that surprise anyone? If that surprises you, pop a note in the chat box. And give us a reason why it surprises you, if it does. It's ready for the third, which looks at the reality offer. What should we be offering? Very short courses or very intensive offerings? This is just one answer for developing the field through online learning. Is it what is best for us to create? And remember, the goal here is to develop the field. 8-hour courses win, followed closely by intensive courses and mid-length. I can tell you when I wrote the first draft of the material that should be in this course, we sent it to our dear friend at Kadenze, Brad Hazeman, who is also on the ITAC Leadership Committee. And he wrote back, "Oh my God, this is over 40 hours long." I had thought it would be about 10 hours. So I terrified him. So we reshaped, we revised, and we came about in that mid-length course. That's about where we think we've ended up. We have a group of beta testers who are taking the course right now, and they will complete their feedback to us to help tweak it. And we will launch the course in public in late August. And let's go to our panel question, getting us oriented, which is about teaching artists motivation for taking an online course. And this is a single answer choice. It's so lovely to see that this group has the same enthusiasm for teaching artists general curiosity that we did, this sense that they, given an opportunity, they just want to learn more. We'll see if that's borne out. Often in reality, that beautiful impulse is daunted by the difficulty of completing a course, of finding space for it amidst the many competing priorities in our lives. But there's a clear sense here that just getting better as a teaching artist in general is the main impulse teaching artists are going to find. Okay, let's pause here. And I am going to pass the focus to my colleague, Gowri Savoor, who is the co-writer of this course and is being nominated for sainthood for the diligence and technical learning that she's done in getting this course together. She's been intimately involved in every aspect of it. And if you can see over my left shoulder there, that is a Gowri Savoor hanging on the wall behind you there. And Gowri, let me hand it to you for a first thinking about the content of teaching artistry for social impact.
Hey, thank you so much, Eric. Hi, everybody. So good to see you all. It's been a long time being able to present this first stage of the course. So we're really excited to be able to do that. I think we're going to start with the word cloud. Is that right, Madeline? So let's have a think. I'm going to post a link in the chat, and this is to a Mentimeter site. It's an external site, so if you are on a laptop, it's going to be a lot easier. On a desktop, it's going to be a little more challenging. On a phone, please try your best. This is an external site, Mentimeter. It's actually a really great free app that anyone can use, but this is going to take us to a link that allows us to think about different topics that we have. So if you just want to copy and paste that link into the chat, into your browser. And we're going to have a few minutes just thinking about what topics you are most interested in learning about social impact through teaching artistry. So I think from this, we're beginning to see that the most popular topics are indeed empathy, collaboration, equity, and empowerment.
Let me do a little introduction, and then we'll give you a few flashes of what it looks like inside the course, and we'll include a map of the curriculum. So you'll see the choices that we made out of those 75 ideas that were offered here, what we finally boiled our focus down to. Just a little note that this course emerged from our ITAC Impact Climate work. So there are 4 case studies about community creative engagement projects to have impact on a community's climate activity. So climate is the main lens, but the ideas we're addressing about climate are applicable to any social impact goal. That's part of our idea. I would say there's 5 big ideas in the design of the course that I'll just name. The first is that the nature of it is very active. I don't think there's a single chunk of time in the course when someone talks for more than 7 or 8 minutes, and it's usually for 2 or 3 minutes. The design is meant to be teaching artist friendly and moving quickly from theory to action, from hypothesis to example, so that it learns through the way teaching artists tend to work with students. Second, the big spine of activity across the whole course is for every student to design their own personally passionate social impact project. So every subject we raise is immediately applied to their own emerging design of a project. So that carries the whole length of the course. And then at the end of the course, they really invest in finalizing their project ideas based on the material in the course, shaping some marketing materials so that they would be able to share it with the world, and having contact with an ITAC coach. And you will be invited to express your interest in being a coach. They've been pretty much alone all the way through these however many hours. And God bless it when that coach appears and says, let's think through the ideas in your project, and helps them shape that culminating project design to sharpen it, to make sure it's well aligned, that it uses the materials in the course. And so each individual student will get paired with an ITAC coach to help shape and refine their project ideas. Third big idea, Gowri will speak more about in a moment, but we included 4 case studies of commissioned social impact climate projects, and there are rich, detailed case studies of all 4 of them connected to the course. Plus, you meet those artists and you see them expressing how the tools in the course applied in their projects. And even better, we have 3 teaching artists who had just gotten commissions, and they are taking the course as the student is taking the course. They're the designated learners. So they're dealing with the same challenges and questions and difficulties in recorded conversation with Gowri that the students taking the online course are dealing with right at the same time. So you have colleague learners thrashing out some of the same learning challenges as you are. We also include the results of an international survey that we did, where we heard from, I think it was 60 experienced experts around the world on 11 or 12 key topics. And we include those results periodically throughout the course to bring in the voice of our field, the kind of expertise that our field has developed. And then the final feature is that contact with the coaches. So Madeline, let's just get a little peek at what it actually looks like. And if you signed up for free, let me mention this, God bless Kadenze, which is a for-profit organization. They have allowed us to offer this course around the world for free, at least for a first year anyway. And once you signed up all your paperwork, this is the first screen you would see. This is what the Kadenze welcome page looks like. And you would move forward from there. You see all those little time indicators on the right. Those are short segments that automatically roll from one to the other to move you through the course. And the second slide shows you what we decided goes into the course. You just advance that PowerPoint, Madeline. There you go. This is the curriculum map. And I'm going to shut up for a moment so you can see what we finally decided were the essentials. And I'll interrupt your reading just to respond to Bill Cleveland's question, a good one. And we're really delighted Bill is here with us, really the master in the US of community arts. And yeah, Bill, we don't actually try to teach that. We embed throughout the course that it is that the teaching artist or community artist or social practice artist or citizen artist, whatever the term used around the world, is a servant facilitator to the voice and the impulse of the community. So we are responding to community need. That is reinforced, must be every 25 minutes throughout the course. In a minute, we're going to have a chance to ask some questions. So if you're getting questions about this material, tuck them away. But you get a sense of the flow of the course, and session 10 is polishing that culminating project. And Madeline, the next slide. We refer to a journal, remembering John Dewey's proviso that if you do not reflect on your experiences, you do not learn from them. In fact, there's a challenge at one point in the journal to find 10 different ways we have used reflection in the journal. So there's a lot of teaching artist friendly work, pulling together what you know, pulling together things from past experience, thinking forward in social imagination in that journal. And the next slide gives you a glimpse of what the culminating project template looks like. This is the thing that the coaches will deal with. And there's about, I think, 4 or 5 pages, quite a lot of entries. Gives you a sense of the kinds of challenges we think are valuable when learning the habits of mind of community project impact. And the next one. Here's a glimpse of a survey slide. This was a survey question about how teaching artists, participatory artists, keep themselves intrinsically motivated through the long haul of a project. And on the slide, there's some analysis of it verbally. Not earth-shattering, but interesting and, in a sense, affirming. And the next slide. We use in all of our impact projects for impact assessment, we use the Continuum of Impact document from Animating Democracy. And this gives you a taste where we look at where do you expect to see and what did the evidence show in terms of impact of your community project. Did people change what they knew? Did they communicate differently? Change what they think and feel? You can see how it works. And we have our impact artists talking to Gowri about their evidence at some length in the course. So this is a habit of mind and an actual tool that we use. Next slide. Gives you a feel for one of the other tools we use. Someone noticed liking the empathy map. That's Adrian. This is the empathy map people work on. And there's several other that I couldn't get good images. I think that might be all I have to show. Is that right, Madeline? Oh no, oh my God, the dreaded logic model. Somebody is laughing because they've done the work. Norma's going, oh no, not that. We actually make a fairly user-friendly way to really respond to what a logic model offers, in that it aligns your goals, your resources, your activities, and your intended outcomes. And we wouldn't have imposed it on people if we didn't get such consistent feedback on how useful it is. People who hate it at first, maybe even Norma, end up loving the value that it provides and holding it a little more lightly, not just some academic monstrosity imposed on them, but actually really a supportive tool. Thank you, William Cleveland. So this is what it looks like when it's blank. And they take some time in this course to really go through the mental practice of lining up all the pieces for maximum efficiency, maximum effectiveness, and getting just the internal clarity that a strong project needs. And I think that's the end of my slides. Is that right, Madeline? Yes. I don't have to show anything more there. And just a little further introduction to what's in the course through Gowri, and then we're going to have a couple of minutes for questions. So I hope you're holding those questions. Gowri.
Thank you, Eric. I'm just going to share my screen. Forgive me for this being a PowerPoint. We actually had to build the whole course in PowerPoint. Eric's laughing. He shouldn't be laughing. He should be crying. And so it's been an interesting technical challenge transferring that into an online module. The system that Kadenze uses called Canoe. You will all experience that. So we've seen the slide already, but this is the introduction slide that you're going to see. And just to show you a little bit more about what you'll see when you go into the Kadenze, you notice that Eric did mention that there's a media queue. So when you begin on the very first slide, it will just take you all the way through unless you physically stop the media queue, which you will be doing regular intervals in order to fill in your journal and your project template, and also to go to the various tools that will help you engage creatively through the course. I'm going to go into some of those today because we are very excited about those. Also, you'll see on Kadenze, and this is the student view, we have forums. We have our beta testers at the moment are beginning to populate those forums, and the latest activity shows up at the bottom. So you can interact with people as they post their responses. And then you'll also see related materials. So, for example, any of the tools that we're using or links to any of the guest teaching artists or professors that are speaking, their materials will be there as well. And I'm just going to pause this here. So you know by now that Eric is leading us through the majority of the course, the 10-session course. I just wanted to give you a little taster of what that looks like. I'm just going to be playing a minute of this video.
ITAC's course, Teaching Artistry for Social Impact. We're excited you're joining us to learn about expanding the work that artists do in communities and schools. Expanding your work with the vision, intention, and effective practice to make a bigger difference in the world. ITAC, the International Teaching Artists Collaborative, some people pronounce it ITAC, connects the thousands of artists around the world who participate directly with people of all ages, and ITAC helps them get better at their work. These artists already accomplish.
Okay, that's just a tiny taster. I want to show you some of the other tools and apps that we have been using. Okay, I'll just pause this one. So Eric did mention before that I've been working with the Impact 21 and the Impact 22 artists. We call them the Impact 22 because they are the 5 teaching artist groups that received a grant this year from ITAC for the climate-related project. And I have been speaking with 3 of them in group Zoom discussions. Like Eric mentioned, they are designated learners, but they've also been discussing some of the topics that we've been covering. They've been experimenting with a lot of the tools, and they've been sharing their challenges as well, which to me is the most beautiful part of it. And they themselves have been building a community within their own group. Out of the 5, only 3 participated in this stage of the course. I'm going to play you a little snippet of what those interviews look like. This is 2 minutes long.
Gowri, who is this?
Like filling in the what matters most allows you to ask different questions as well of yourself and of those around you. Is that right?
Yes, indeed. It is, because being a teaching artist is both a personal and a sort of like you're part of the community, but also this is something very personal to you. This is what Pavel has mentioned, because I learn, and I agree with that. In fact, that's why I became, because it's 200%, learning to teach. So I thought, why not actually? So it's both, like, to lack of a better term, about selfish and a selfless act, in fact, to be a teaching artist, because you kind of want to continue, but in the process of this continuum, is also you learning and giving back, and learning and giving back. And I start my session with that. Like, I'm here because I actually want to learn from you. So the degree of your generosity in the space is also the amount of what I can learn from you and what I can provide you. So the more that you are committed to me, then I can commit to you. That's how, like, the laying the foundation there. So thank you for that, Pavel. But yeah,
I just like this mathematics of generosity, but it's conditioned also by, of course, our own desires to fulfill our needs, expectations, and yeah, beautiful.
I loved what Abner said about, it just grounding you in the process and not this final project, whatever it is. And things are gonna fly out the window, but as long as you've helped to create a safe space and you're connecting with your participants and your community, and it's really about how everyone feels that week. I mean, that's what matters most, right? So yeah, I appreciated that.
It sounds like, okay, so Katie, Abner, and Pavel, you can see they went through the course, and you'll see a lot more of them when you sign up. We also used 2 external tools, which are really pretty exciting. They're both free, so anyone can use them. You can sign up for them. One of them is called Flipgrid, and the other one's called Padlet. And Madeline is going to explain briefly what they are here.
Flipgrid is a webcam video response system. We'll ask you a question and you give a short video response. Keep it short. You have up to 90 seconds for your response. In this first activity,
so we have a range of different prompts and invitations to participate, and we'll be able to witness each other's work. You can see here that Artsu and Tanya, who have started doing the 2 of our beta testers, have already started to populate this. And you can submit your own responses, very, very simple, and also respond to other people's videos. We're not going to see those right now. And the other tool is called Padlet. And this is a really fantastic app. Again, it's free. Anyone can sign up and you can use this in your own practice. But there's such a wide variety of ways that you can interact and engage with people. You can input photos, you can have text, you can have drawings, you can put in videos, you can have maps. There are just a whole variety of different ways of interacting.
for this activity, we'd like you to use Padlet, which is a research multimedia tool. Take a moment and show us where in the world you're located and share an insight about teaching artistry in your community.
So that's one example of that. And some of them will just look as, so you saw the little map example there. Most of them are going to look like this. Nobody has started to populate this yet. And you can see there are a couple of typos. We are still in the process of refining, which is what the beta testing is all about. Again, it's a really great tool. And the final tool that we're using, and this is actually embedded in Kadenze, so you would have to do the course in order to be able to interact with the forum. Madeline will explain briefly what that is.
Opportunity for you to share your ideas about teaching artistry with colleagues and engage in considered and in-depth discussion. Where the journal is for your private reflection, the forum offers opportunities for public discussion. You'll find the forum in the Related Materials Coursework button. Please take a moment to respond.
Oops. And that's what the forum looks like. So for any of you that are used to old message boards, this is perfect. This is exactly the same thing. It's a message board. You can put images in as well and respond and to one another's work. We are going to invite you to populate some of these, we're going to invite you to populate some of these Flipgrids and Padlets. And I'm going to post this information in the chat. This just shows where each of the different tools appears within that 10-session course. And it's just fun to see these being populated. So if the interest takes you, please do participate. Thanks.
I know I'm muted. That's like my new middle name. Eric, you're muted. Madeline will also put in the chat box the link you would go to if you would like to consider being a coach for an individual who's completed the culminating project format. All right, let's pause here because there's likely to be some questions. So if you've got a burning question, just unmute and holler it out. If you have one you want to put in the chat box, we'll keep an eye on the chat box now. Dana asked, what are we looking for in coaches? It's someone with experience in community arts work who is willing to take a couple of hours to work with an individual to sharpen their passion project idea. So it's someone with experience who won't be flustered by the thought required by a logic model and can see how pieces fit together, but it doesn't need to be someone who's lifelong dedicated. You will choose whether you're free or not at a given time to take on coaching, so it's not a big responsibility. We'll put the coaching link, there we go. Thank you, Madeline. Anyone who's interested, Madeline just posted the form to fill out. Thanks so much. Anyone with a question about the course? Not any so far.
I'm just wondering about those slides that you showed earlier. Will we see those again?
Which slides, Carrie?
Everything like that will we get?
If you take the course, those are all things from within the course.
I see.
But we probably won't be showing them again. They were like little sneak peeks of stuff.
Right, I understand. That's fine.
Eric, I have a quick question. If we sign in for coaching, do we have any training? Are we going to have access to the platform as well? Do you have any process in place for that?
Yes, we're just getting that together now. I think we would call it training light. We're going to do online conversing rather than training and discover together what's actually going to make sense for both coaches and coachees. We don't want to have a heavy demand on the coaches. We're really trying to imagine it as a 2 to 3 hour refinement process. We have some written material and we'll learn as we go. But if you sign up in that section Madeline gave, we're going to offer a series of conversation trainings to get ready. And again, you get to choose whether the timing is right for being a coach or not when we ask you if you're available. Questions about content? All right.
Well, I'm sure I would. Oh, can I talk?
Please.
I'm sure taking the course, I would probably find this answer within there or be led down a path to discover it myself. I think the concept of social impact itself is evolving along with the teaching artist field. And I know you mentioned, Eric, and I've talked with you a little bit about it, that basically the case studies are around climate impact. Are there also kind of deep dives of application to other social impact topics?
Right. A beautiful question. And the answer is no, that we're really doing our deep dive on what would be generalizable elements of social impact projects, but the vast majority of our examples are in climate. However, almost invariably, when we ask people to think about their own project, we remind them that they're applying a principle, and it doesn't have to look exactly like a climate project. So we're trying to kind of finesse an awkwardness of all in on the climate issues and applicability to other passions you have. And we certainly hope there's a lot of other passions. We have a question about from someone about taking the course and being a coach at the same time. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know. We're just making it up. I think it might be easier to try not to do that, so you can have the full hit of the course. And if it resonates well, then become a coach after that. But if you're crazed to do the work, put in the application, we'll figure it out. I see a question from Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for doing this. And it's good to see some familiar faces. So my questions are not content-based, they're logistically based. So the first is the sessions, clarify how many sessions there are. It is a first online course, woo. Is it asynchronous or is it happening at a specific time? Is that time one that we're hoping or you're hoping would involve people globally? And I'll shut up and let me start there.
All right, I'll take a first shot, and Gowri may want to amend this. It is mostly asynchronous. There are occasions where people have contact through Padlet and Flipgrid, and really their only personal contact is with the coach. So we estimate, without hearing from the beta testing group, that it will take 12 to 15 hours to complete. It is offered worldwide. We don't know if that 12 to 15 is an accurate estimate. People can take it over the course of a month or over the course of 3 months. We don't know how they're going to use it. It's there at their service. And thanks to Kadenze, it is free to all.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Bill.
Here we go. Having just finished a couple of years in the asynchronous black hole, my question is, do you give students opportunities, or do you encourage people to take opportunities to break the system for their own devices? And I guess my selfish reason for asking this question is, the work is so relational, and obviously asynchronous makes relationship practice very difficult. And so are there ways in which you basically give people permission to reach out and engage that are encouraged, that actually end up being relationship practice?
It's a really good question. I think the answer is we really haven't intentionally structured that in. We partly come from the expectation that people will mess with it, but we haven't overtly invited people to take it wherever it's going to make sense for them and bust out of its confines. We haven't, and we still have time to add some things. And you're making me think an explicit invitation to actually mold it to what's working for you might be a really constructive thing to add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hear the voice of experience. Yeah. Sorry, Gowri.
No, I just want to add in there, Bill, that we are we have made an explicit invitation for people to join ITAC, and not because they want to join ITAC, but really to kind of build the community. And also the ITAC Climate Group, which does meet fairly regularly. And so there are ways there to build that community, but it's really hard to gauge how that's going to go. I think it depends on how many people do the course at any given time together. So there will be a big burst of people at the beginning, but how that kind of pans out over the coming months, it's hard to say.
And, we were so sensitive to what you just described, Bill, as the black hole of the experience, and how isolating it can be, and in fact, just droopy. So that's part of why it's very active on the inside, recognizing that doing this on your own and kind of making it all the way through to the end asks a lot of a person, but we offered as much as we could to make it work. Amber, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Eric. Yeah, thanks for this conversation. It's such an exciting course, so thank you for bringing it forward. My question is more around if there is sort of integrated throughout the course conversations around funding, right? How are we going to get these projects funded? And not just within funding, accessing and funding from the arts communities, but also accessing funding in the social service or like whatever sort of sector that you are meeting up to collaborate within these projects for a social impact. I recognize too that it being a global course, it's impossible it would be such a huge undertaking to gather all those resources, but is there a way to gather the resources as people are going through the course so that you're creating sort of a funding resource body out of it?
You ask a poignant question. We suffered with that question, and we finally made the hard decision. As we were grappling with it, it kept metastasizing into this sort of gigantic set of other considerations we needed to bring in. And so we just explicitly did not include it in the course. We've confessed to it. We've admitted we're leaving this giant gap in their experience and that it deserves a course of its own. We invite them to gather thoughts, but that's not very helpful. We felt there needs to be that course, and jamming it into this course just didn't feel like it was serving the purpose of this course very well. So you have just poked us in the eye in a very, in quite exactly the right way, because our hope is these projects move into the world, but if we're not supporting how you develop the funding for them, we have underserved that intent. But I encourage you to create that course, and I promise to support you. It would be a huge effort, and what a gigantic advantage for the we'll look at it. If we can find some funding to support that, I think it would make a big difference to our projects, looking outside the usual suspects of funding in arts and arts education, which are so constricted. Because it's social impact, it opens up a whole new range of possible funders. And as a field, we're pretty naive. We're kind of toddlers in figuring out how to make that work. I see a couple of other questions that I haven't gotten to. Maybe Madeline or Gowri have been looking at them. Gowri nodded, so Gowri's going to answer something now.
Yeah, I've been writing a couple of answers in the chat. Erica, it's due to begin by Elizabeth, I'm sorry, by September 20. Well, we're hoping for a late August start, but it really depends on how our beta testers do with the course. And so we're giving them a good 6 weeks to be able to go all the way through the course, and then for us to be able to make changes, because we are anticipating a few changes. And then definitely by the time the conference begins, September 1st, we will be fully functioning. And also, there was a good question here from Sheila about how do we know if teaching artists have an impact in their communities? That's a really great question, because I think, and Eric, please add to this, but I would think that teaching artists would be in touch with ITAC and in touch with us and keeping a report on how they're doing and the work that they're doing with their communities and just keeping those lines of communication open.
But you're right, Sheila, we really haven't built in an ongoing contact that would let us know. Really good thing to note. We have time for one last question. Liz, I think that would be you.
Thank you so much. I'm perfect. I'm a little bit unstable. So in line with what, here's I'm thinking, the asynchronous allows a lot more connectivity, so you're not bound by the time constraints. But as William mentioned, the asynchronous also allows for a level of alienation. So what I'm hearing is you have coaches of, like, I'd be interested, but there's a question of whether you can be in the project and also coach. I would suggest yes, but the coach sounds like someone who would be a reed to hold on to from an individual. What I'm thinking is something more in the lines of having hubs. In other words, like for myself, some professional organizations and colleagues, that we do this together and have a sense of some cohesion as that it's happening, that we're doing it at the same time, that we have follow-up sessions, that kind of thing. And is that something, I don't know that it would support it. I mean, everybody's free to do what they want to do, but I think getting back to then how do you forecast what the impact is, or how do you actually have a sense of cohesion as opposed to just having this out in the world? My first thought is I do it and get some colleagues involved so that we're doing it, maybe possibly doing it at the same time and having follow-up sessions, if that makes any sense. I'm not even sure what my question is.
We have considered it in terms of building cohorts. The logistics of that were beyond what we could do within the course, but the thought of actually having informal cohorts that people within an organization or a region or people who are somehow connected choosing to do it together, that's an informal cohort, and that sounds like a beautiful idea. I'm sure it would really enhance their experience. Rachel, last question goes to you. You're muted.
Just like you, I have to remember. If you could make geographic groups, make sure we have that we know where each other lives. I think it would happen. We would love to find each other.
Right. Well, it's beyond our capacity to organize that.
Just like a sheet with everybody's name, address, and email. I've seen another group do this. Okay, well,
Be in touch with us about what you saw them do, because we couldn't kind of figure out how to do it. So send us send Madeline or me an email, and we'll learn from your experience. Thank you.
I'll try.
All right, good. Can Padlet and Flipgrid be part of cohort building? We hope. We think we'll find out. I would love to turn this conversation over to you. We have 3 questions we would like to assign in breakout groups and ask you to take 15 minutes with randomly selected colleagues on an assigned topic that you can mess with if you want. And out of your conversation, to any insights, any ideas that are worth sharing, to have someone in your group who will serve as a secretary to write them onto a Google Doc that is organized by breakout groups. So as you get an idea, quick type it in to the Google Doc we all have access to. And then at the end, we're going to look through some of those together, and it'll be a chance for you to upvote to sort of emphasize the ideas that seem particularly significant. And let me just introduce the 3 questions that you're going to be assigned one of these 3 questions. The first one is about where we started really at the beginning. What are the best opportunities and potentials for ITAC and others to develop more online learning? Bearing in mind the realities we face, which is no funding to develop courses, people don't have much to pay for courses, teaching artist friendliness is not the nature of an asynchronous course, given all those realities, what are some of the ideas of the potential of online professional development? That's question one. Question two notes that we expect they're going to develop some pretty cool projects. They will be fully articulated. They will have some deep thinking under them. What do we do with that? What do we do with this wealth of project ideas that we don't have any money to support, but that we want to encourage into the world? So that group is going to think about, what do we do with the rich resource that gets developed by those who finish the course? And then the third question has two parts, is how can ITAC and the field make the fullest use of this new resource? How can we take the fullest use of this course? And some thoughts about why people are going to take this course. So those are the three assigned topics. We'll give you about 15 minutes. A secretary in your group will make some notes to your best ideas in the Google Doc, and we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. Thank you all. As you're coming back, go check out some of the notes in the Google Doc and upvote the ones that strike you. Upvote them by putting your initials after it. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for doing that. Go take a look at some of the ideas in that Google Doc and upvote. Express your support for ideas that really grab you. And you do that by putting your initials after it. So we will be quiet here for a couple minutes while you take a look at the thinking of our breakouts. So we'll come back to our main Zoom room with thanks for your good smarts and attention to our breakout rooms and the ideas that arose. One comment, it seemed clear to us back here at home base that there was some confusion about the role of the coach. So let me just take 30 seconds to describe it again for clarification. The coaches work with this, as we're currently imagining it, the coaches work with the students who complete the course and only engage with them at the end, to work with them on refining their culminating project format. That's the limitation of the relationship. We think it'll take 2 to 3 hours. We don't want to ask too much of our coaches, but we do want the chance for them to feel connected and supported in shaping that final project. The other question was whether you can both take the course and be a coach at the same time. You can. I think it would be easier if you actually took the course first and then began to work as a coach later, because you'd have more sense of what's being talked about. But we don't want to say no to an eager coach. We have no idea what the demand will be. It may only be 4 people complete the course in the early going, or it may be that 100 people do. So we don't know currently what the demand will be. So yes, Laura, you have a question.
Yes, I do. I run a small arts organization, and we've just started to, kind of branch out to more community events. And we started with a little arts, Eco Arts Week, and included a variety of different artists. It was pretty low key. It was an experiment. And it seems like this would be a great place for me to direct the group of us that are planning that project for next April to kind of engage in planning. Is that true?
It sounds like it would be great. And if you could have them do it as a team, it would be really richer for them. It sounds like a beautiful idea.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions that are coming up?
We had one question from Sheila. Sheila, do you want to call it out loud? I'm struggling to find it in the chat right now.
Okay, well, I'm just unclear about one thing that's a yes or no answer. Are the teaching artists who take this course actually going to implement the project that they plan, or are they simply planning a project as an exercise?
The answer is we do not have any means to support those projects into reality. So it is just a glorified exercise. And we're going to do everything we can to make them visible, to, help them find support. But we don't have the means to launch those projects into the world.
So can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Would it be a good idea to start a group that is interested in getting these projects up that could support the end result?
It's a beautiful idea. I don't know how they do that, but I appreciate that impulse. And I saw Madeline's eyebrows go up at the thought that there might be such a real thing in the world. So we'll make sure Madeline's in touch with you to see if there's some traction there. Bill Cleveland.
Yeah, and actually this is in response to Laura, and the question that was just asked. And that is that in the course that I've been teaching for the last 2 years, we have been specifically encouraging and recruiting people who are actually physically proximate to each other to be teams in the course, so that the lack of synchronous connection, they can add another layer, which is let's meet in Mary's kitchen and talk about our project, and it becomes much more animated and real in that circumstance. Obviously, that's you can't mandate that, but you can make that an opportunity.
How do you do it?
We recruit through local arts agencies.
Right.
There's only 5,000 of them around the country, and they exist all over the world as well. So you just put the word out to a local arts agency and say, hey, would you like to gather 4 people, and
Beautiful.
all of them sign up for this, and then they become your adjunct partner in the process. So you've expanded the resource.
Beautiful idea to work with partner organizations in that way. We will definitely take that seriously. Norma, the last question goes to you since we're at the end of our time.
Great. I just wanted to ask if you have considered that a possible track for this course in itself is actually to be targeted to small to medium-sized organizations that need not to create a new project, but maybe enhance or improve on their project that they're working, and as a team cohesively taking on this initiative as to improve all of their stuff at once, or is that something that will be possible? So as for us to reach out to this type of audience in particular?
We haven't been thinking of it in that way, but even as you're saying it, it does make a lot of sense. We will include that in our marketing thinking about another way to offer the use of this course outwards. Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone. We're at the end of our time. So
and do a course for Chamber Music America.
All right. Chamber Music America, beautiful idea. As a partner.
Lots of chamber groups are doing this. They're trying.
All right.
So we want to be better at it.
Sounds good. We'll let them know it exists.
Yeah.
Madeline, do you have parting logistical words for people before we just say thank you and goodbye?
I always do. Yes, so I had a message in the chat. So Stefania has an event that she would love to share with you all. She is putting that link in the chat now. There we go. Thank you, Stefania. And my final thought, again, is to point you towards the ITAC 6 digital program. If you have enjoyed these discussions, the sense of community with people in different places, and thinking together about some of the bigger issues, the field in general, how we might address some of these things, please do sign up. I have put the link in the chat again. It really is just the most lively and amazing part of ITAC, I feel, are these gatherings that we get to have. So please do think about it. They happen every 2 years. 1 month from now is the next one. So thank you so much. As always, we'll leave the chat open for a little bit in case you want to save any of that good stuff people have shared.
But for now, a very big thank you for joining us, and a massive thank you, of course, to Eric and Gowri for creating such a fabulous course. And I can't wait until you all take it and tell us how you got on and show us the projects, and to start thinking about all that you shared and how we action that. So thank you all, and I will leave the call open for about 3 minutes more.